Listen to the message without following the messenger on today's Oblyron Spirituality. Greetings everyone, I am Oblyron, Lord of the Underworld and Magister of the Cube. Thank you for joining me on today's episode where we're going to talk about the importance of being able to receive the messages of spirituality without following the messenger. It's important to remember that no matter who we come across, we are all just people. It doesn't matter if we were born in a monastery or born on the streets, or if we came from the most well-adjusted home or whatever it is. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter what our background is, any of that kind of stuff. We are all just people. And we're all just human. We are all corruptible. We are not infallible. We are not these completely altruistic creatures. And as long as we are not these types of people, well, again, we're always subject to corruption. And many times in spirituality, that corruption actually starts to run rampant without us even realizing it. This is why it's so important to be able to listen to the messages that people are trying to tell us without necessarily following the messenger. And this goes for anyone. This goes for me too. And for a long time, I was even contemplating whether or not to even make this channel. I've lived a very public life being a musician. I've played in front of a lot of people, and I know how people can get when we gather in large groups, when there are certain speakers or certain bands playing. You know, we as human beings, we have almost this instinct to want to give our power away. And we do that because it's basically in our DNA. You know, for so many millennia, we as humans had to survive. And the way that we survived was generally there was some type of strong leader leading the pack or leading the group. You know, this is why tyrannies and despots rose before, let's say, democracies. It's because we have an instinct to gather around one strong person. And many times we look to spiritual leaders and we think that perhaps they're on some type of pedestal because they come and they talk about God, or they talk about, you know, energies of the Most High and angels and whatnot. But really, again, all of that's being delivered by a human. All that's being delivered by a vessel which is subject to corruption. And many times we may not even realize all the undercurrents of the energies that we see and everything that's happening. Let me give you an example. So as a musician, I've played a lot of gigs, and I would say that the largest crowd I ever played for was about 5,000 people. It was for an originals band, and you know, the people were there to see that band. I did some sub work for them. So it was about 5,000 people. I'm on stage, and okay, let's say half the people at the concert were women. All right. So that's about 2,500 women. And let's say, let's just throw out a number. Roughly 10% of those women would have slept with any of the guys in the band because that was the band they went to go see. So as a bass player subbing, you know, I'm looking out into the audience. And, you know, for the most part, people are having a great time. But peppered throughout, are women giving you that look. They're looking at you really hard. They're like, they're totally into you. It's just pretty much you just go up to them and say hi, and you can sleep with them type of thing. So imagine what that's like. Most people, they get really excited when like one person gives them attention. Well, now imagine looking out into, a sea of people, and you're seeing a bunch of people looking back at you, giving you that look. Well, for a lot of people, that's obviously very intoxicating to get that much attention from people and you can literally feel them giving you their power. Okay? It's not just a look or anything. This is a very visceral feeling. And what's really interesting is that when I've seen videos of Sadhguru speak to an audience, well, guess what? When they pan to the audience, I see the same looks. I see the same energy that women are giving Sadhguru. I see, again, the same type of energy, the same fawning over him type of thing. Yeah, there is a lot of undercurrents of attraction, even in spirituality. And while there's not necessarily anything wrong with attraction or any of that kind of stuff, what is the danger is the fact that when we give our power to spiritual people, you got to remember, you're not giving your power away to just anyone. You're giving your power away to someone who knows how to use and to manipulate that power. And again, it doesn't matter if you call yourself a light worker, a shadow worker, or whatever it is. When someone is attracted to you, when they fawn over you, when they give you certain looks, you know that there are certain things that you can do. You know that there are certain levels of power that you have over that person. And you see, once we give our power away, once we start to become attracted to that spiritual leader, we're no longer searching for ourselves. We are now becoming disciples. We are now becoming followers, where we are not questioning for ourselves anymore. We are enamored with the person that we are following, or that we're listening to speak. And so I've experienced this myself too. A couple videos back I was talking about again, on the dark side of spirituality. I was talking about how after the Kundalini activation and everything, when we were in particularly vulnerable states, in my experience, that was when we saw videos of the leader of this particular practice that I was engaged in. So obviously the person for that particular practice knew what they were doing, because why would you put your picture there when people are in a vulnerable state? Why would you put your image there when people are in a vulnerable state? And again, like I said, having gone through my own experience with other groups and organizations like that, I wondered whether or not I should even put my face on this channel. I was thinking about making one of those AI channels and just having the images come up. The only reason why I decided to even put my image on this is because, again, my experience on stage, I knew what that energy was like, so I figured I would be able to at least identify it, within my own community. I would be able to curtail that. I would be able to say, hey, don't follow me, don't do any of that kind of stuff. Just listen to what I have to tell you. And well, it doesn't really matter, because people are attracted no matter what, I guess. But in all seriousness, we need to be able to identify when when it's not just about listening to the message anymore, and when we start to become, let's say, a bit infatuated with the spiritual leader. It's very important to know that within oneself, because the moment you could recognize that within yourself, that's the moment that you realize that you're giving your power away. When you see a spiritual leader, when you see, or any type of leader for that matter, there should be no feelings. You should be able to look at that person in the eye and just see a human. Just see another person, another man, another woman. Don't pedestalize them. Don't feel anything for them. Those feelings, they have to go away. And if you are feeling those feelings for them, ask yourself, okay, well, why are you feeling those feelings? You came here to explore, let's say, your own self. You came here to explore your own psyche, your own spirituality, to be able to strengthen the soul that resides within you. So why is it that you are now projecting onto someone else? So many of the signs that tell us that we are becoming more enamored with the spiritual leader over their message, many of those signs are no different than infatuation. Everything that we experience in the beginning stages of love, everything that we experience when we first meet someone, those are going to be the same feelings that a person will feel for a spiritual leader or a cult leader. Same exact feelings. So again, if you feel those butterflies in your stomach, if you feel like you're fawning over someone, when the eyes dilate, when the head tilts to the side, when we start to smile, that sort of vacant smile type of smile that we do. Another thing is when we start to become a little bit obsessed with them, we start to think about them a lot. I remember when I was going through those classes, I started to, at random, I started to think of this person that I had never met, the person who founded this particular energy system, and again, I thought to myself, after a couple of months, it's like, why am I thinking about this person so much? And it was because, during the Kundalini activation, I was looking at those pictures that made a psychic impression on me, that made an energetic impression on me. Some other things to watch out for is if we start to become defensive of them, if we start to rationalize what they do, even if we know in the back of our mind it's wrong, but we start to rationalize that what they're doing is right. Again, even when I was sort of feeling this state of infatuation for this cult leader, I kind of knew deep down that something was a little bit off, but I ignored it. And I've always been one of those very skeptical people when it comes to a lot of things like this. I thought I had my guard up. I thought I had my walls up, and that I could do things and experience things without being affected like that. But guess what? It could get to the best of us. Again, because these are energies and emotions that spirituality deals with. When let's say Sadhguru or the Dalai Lama speaks, a lot it activates that heart chakra within people. It activates the crown chakra within people, and even the sacral chakra within people. All these energies are being activated, and just in hearing their words, it moves people in all sorts of different ways. So really, in a lot of these experiences, it's really important to remove the emotion from it. It's really important to remove the feelings from it. And I know it's a lot easier said than done, especially when going through the middle of this, when you're right smack dab in the middle and going through all of that. It could almost feel like, no, that person, they have my back. Like, why would they ever do that? Well, unfortunately, the world it's not always as altruistic as it may seem. And again, spirituality is one of those energies which, once a person has the ability to tap into that, you can get people to do a lot of things that they probably wouldn't even do otherwise. So again, just be careful, be mindful. Nothing should ever put you out of your comfort zone. Nothing should ever make you feel lesser than, or that you need to prove yourself or to do things in order to gain favor and all this kind of stuff. I mean, true spirituality really connects us back with God. True spirituality needs no authority figure, and it needs no one to tell you what spirituality is, because true spirituality is just within yourself. You are spirituality. You are all that is. And anyone else who has a revelation or some kind of vision or whatever, well, that's good for them. I've had my visions of the underworld. I've had my revelations of Hecate. I've had, all these spiritual things happen to me with my spirit team and the Goetia and all of these things. But really, that's my experience. It's my experience and it's my perspective. But again, at the end of the day, the only perspective that matters is your own perspective. Everything that I came to was a conclusion based off of my life and what I've studied. And if there are things that you can glean from it, if there are things that helps you out in some way too, well, that's all the better. I'm glad I helped out. But definitely do not follow anyone. Don't follow anyone. Don't ever pedestalize any spiritualists, because no spiritualist is worth being pedestalized. In fact, many times in India, when someone says they want to go off to become a guru, it's very similar, to someone saying they want to become a musician in the United States, which is kind of funny because here I am, I'm a musician and a spiritualist, so I guess I'm the the ultimate irresponsible dreg of society or something. So again, it just comes down to loving oneself. Explore, listen to other people, but don't make them or their practice your life. So if you'd like to continue the conversation, then feel free to head on over to my Discord, where I post additional content. I've got forums, as well as offer various services. If you've resonated with today's message, then feel free to leave a like, subscribe, or comment, letting us know how you've resonated with the message today. Thanks again for joining us on this episode, and love and light and wisdom and shadow. And now we shall close with the chant of Oblyron. Amde sote, amde Oblyron, amde sote, amde Oblyron.